just getting your bill of divorce, trying to cope with the simple fact that you now have to pick up your cross and walk, and that your husband or your wife put you away. One of my brothers just left a comment saying he remembered his vows. He hasn't let go of his vows, but his wife let go of the vows, and he knows that it's until death. So what do you do while you're put away, and if you're waiting for your spouse to come back? Bottom line, you live in life not seeking another, and understanding that you did take a covenant and that you are one flesh with your wife or your husband. What do? Do you let yourself go? And what I mean by that is, I know when I first went through all of what I was going through, at one point in time I was like, well, what's it all for? What's the whole purpose of trying to look fly? And my husband's not there to give me a compliment or to say something nice, or what's it all for? Like I'm never going to be able to go to a nice restaurant because that part of my life is no more, so I can't enjoy certain things like that. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You don't let yourself go. You do you, knowing that you are still one flesh. God will provide too, especially for those of you that's just like, my husband was everything. He was the provider, and now he's gone. How am I going to be able to do things? Let me tell you something, y'all. One thing I can honestly say to y'all, and for those of y'all who've been looking at my videos, you saw when my in-laws gave me and their granddaughter the boot out of the house. And here it is. I don't even think it's 3 years, and already I'm still looking for property, but I haven't found a house that I really like. But if I wanted to get a house next week, I can go and choose the house that I want and move into it. And I didn't think that, I thought I was going to have to go through all of this, but in the midst of my walking and following the Lord and keeping his commandments, the Lord has been blessing me. Like, he's been really blessing me. And even if he takes all of that away, he's done so much for me. And so I realized, like, God is like, if you look to me, keep my commandments, I got you, Mona. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to take care of you and your baby, both of you. I'm going to cover you. I'm going to shelter you. Your husband is not there. I know he's not. But if you trust me and you keep my commandments, I'm going to do that. And so it's amazing, because it's just like he's truly blessed me. So that's why I tell everybody, like, especially when you find yourself and I'm just going to use this as an example, like my situation. Women, we depend on our husbands because, of course, they're the head of the household, right? You have your husband and you have Jesus, right? And so when your husband is not there, Jesus covers you. He covers you anyway, but you understand what I'm saying in terms of the steps. So do you let yourself go? Absolutely not. And I'm not going to lie, I did kind of let myself go. Like last year, I was like, I ain't working out at all. I'm just going to sit here and eat these chips and this bowl of ice cream. I don't care. And then something dawned on me, like, the older you get, your body will start breaking down in certain ways. You're just like, hold up. I used to be able to eat this. Now this don't feel right. Our bodies are temples, and we need to take care of our temples, correct? So I started working out. I never used to be a jogger, and I think I told y'all this story, but one time me and my husband, we decided to jog, and he was a jogger, and I was hurting, and he held my hand, and we just started jogging together. I felt like I was going to literally pass out, but he was holding my hand the whole way, and I ended up finishing it. But goodness, but now I literally, like, I can jog now for about 45 minutes, and to me it makes me feel it's something. When I finish jogging, I feel better. I feel better about myself. And praise God, I lost 20 pounds from April to right now. I'm 20 pounds down. So I thank God for that. And I started to do things too, like go to one of my favorite restaurants, which is Clyde's. And yes, it's just me and Symphony that goes. And at first I sat there and I looked around and I thought, you know, people were going to be looking, but I thought maybe they're going to be judging, like this lady got, you know, it's just her and her baby that comes up in here. But then I noticed when the bill came through, you know, because I'm the type anyway, I'll take the bill. I got this. When that bill came through, that was nothing. I said, oh, we could do this all the time. I started smiling like, I enjoy this, you know. So, should you let yourself go? Absolutely not. No. Never let yourself go because your husband walked out the door. Yes, there are certain things that you just can't do anymore because you're not, you know, you're not with your husband. You're not with your wife. But there are certain things that God will give you the desires of your heart. You know what I mean? He will give you the desires of your heart. I had one lady say, I don't know what she said. She was looking at my nails and she was like, oh, Mona just, you know, she was thinking in her head, Mona, that's because Mona got a job and whoop, whoop, whoop. But then she realized, like, no, I actually learned how to do my own nails. And God, you know, he's like, Mona, don't you like this color? So it's like, I'm not going to let myself go because my husband walked out of the door. And I want to learn a lot of new things too. So if my husband does come back, I got way more things under my belt and a lot of achievements that I have done, you know, because some people will feel like it's no point of me getting a house because what's the point of having a house if my husband isn't there? It's no point of me planting these flowers. Oh yeah, I actually, you know, now that I found out they deliver groceries, when me and my cousin found out they can deliver groceries, we were like, shoot, I'm trying to tell you, I get my groceries delivered, and yes, I will get me some roses, and I'll make me a nice centerpiece. Like, I'm not going to stop, enjoying the little things because my husband isn't there. But it was one point in time when I was like, I'm not going to be able to enjoy any of that is not going to be anything in the loop. Like, I'm supposed to be walking around this thing with rags on and just, you know, whooping myself with a belt on my back because woe is me, you know what I mean? But God provides, and he knows the desires of your heart. He knows the desires of your heart. So no, absolutely not, don't let yourself go. Because ladies, if your husband comes around and he sees like, dang, you know what I mean? Like, that's my wife. Or fellas, you know, your wife comes around and she's like, what in the tarnations? You know, and that's just not to be whatever. But at the same time, you got a lot of people that's looking at you like they don't, like, for instance, people don't know how to take it. They think, oh, you went through your bill of divorce. They waiting to see you depressed, throwing up, looking a hot mess, you know, just like, oh, she didn't let herself go when her husband left. But then when they see you, they like, she really daggone it. I never seen her this refreshed before. I've never seen her like really on top of certain things. Like, something is going on in her life, and what is it? Is the blessings of God. And it's the reason why God blesses you so much is because you're keeping his commandments. That's why I be telling people, like, look, if your husband gave you a bill of divorce and he gave you the deuces and he filed for a divorce, don't let yourself go. But look, don't get no new man. Don't. Because you're going to see a shift. You're going to see everything that God had in store for your marriage. God is still going to give you favor. And in order for you to have this and have that, and for God to walk with you, you got to make sure you keeping his commandments. Two wrongs will not make it right. Now, he already put violence on his garment because the Lord says, I hate put it away. But you don't want to put violence on your garment because you're doing the same things he's doing by committing adultery. No, when you follow God's commandments, his hand will be with you. A couple of months ago, I shared that I had a dream. And the dream was, it was this dark water, and that means the enemy is coming, and it was flooding neighborhoods. And I was on the outside of my house, and this hand came out of nowhere and stopped that water. That maybe the water did not impact my house or go over my house. And I realized, like, the Lord is really, like, God is with me. God is with all of us. But if you really want the Lord not to, you really want to hear from God, you got to make sure that you are in alignment with what he tells us to do and not to do, in keeping his commandments. And he's going to see you through. You're going to get favor. And it's not just because, oh, I worked this hard. No, it's because you kept his commandments. People are still at all like, how in the world? And I'm like, everywhere you go is going to grow. Everywhere you lay your head is going to be a blessing. Not only you, but in the presence of other people. And that's because you kept God's commandments. And even when you show the world, like my wife divorced me, but I had made a covenant with her. I know that we're one flesh. I know this is until death. People look at me like, look, she crazy. Do you see what husband is right there? And all the time she's struggling, going through all of this, and her husband is chilling, looking refreshed in the Lord. You can see it on the inside and on the outside. And I'm not saying that your outer appearance, you got to be GQ'd out and have some of the top of the line clothes. But I'm talking about even in your health. Don't let yourself go looking like somebody's grandma. I did that, and I thought, like, woe is me. No, God don't want me to do. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And some people try to shun down on that and be like, but I'm gonna tell you something. I would say something out my mouth and be like, it would be nice to have that, but Lord, I don't think I could be able to have that or be able to afford it. And next thing you know, somebody just came along and was like, you want this? I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, the Lord would be like, here you go, Mona. I'm like, whoa, like, Father, like, really? So, yeah. And so, I was saying to myself, too, I was like, my daughter's getting old enough. I want to put her in ballet. I'm still looking for a property because I want my daughter to be able to have her own, little space in the backyard where I could put her little playground area up there. We can plant a garden or some roses and stuff like that. And, to everybody else, that's something small. You know what I mean? But I want a space where, for me and her, that we can do us. And I still want to do my traditional Thanksgiving dinners and, have family cookouts and stuff. Like, I've always wanted to do that. And, sometimes the enemy would be like, what do you need a house for? It's only you and your daughter. Why y'all want to move there? That's my desire, though. That's something that I want to have. I want to have something where nobody's going to come along and be like, we want the house back because you guys aren't getting along. It's like, huh? I know that God will provide, and he's been providing, and I thank God for him. Don't let yourself go. No. Don't. And what I mean by that is that, I know everything is done in modesty. You realize what's important here. But God will bless you with things. Don't ever think that you're not worthy enough to be blessed, because he will bless you. And people will see like, wow, you know what I mean? And not because of the materialistic things. It's because your attitude when you go around people. You're smiling. You're more, you know what I mean? You're not in fear because you know that God is with you. Let me tell you, that's the most important thing to me, is to know that God didn't put me away, that God is with me, and he loves me. He loves me. And I'm like, I can take my husband leaving me, but I can't take God leaving me. And the mere fact that he stepped in the mix and he just said, Mona, I got you. Don't worry about that. I got you. I'm asking him like, Father, I need, please, Lord, I need to work on getting to church on time. I need to be better in my prayer life. I need to, it's things like that. When you start really walking in God and depending on God. And see, that's it. I find that a lot of women, they're so quick to rush into a second relationship, or a relationship that's not in the will of God, by trying to look for another man to console them, and they think gonna protect them, and it's not in the will of God. Like, if you trust God, God is going to step in and he's going to supply your every need. He's going to do that. Some people feel like in order for them to have this picture of happiness, a man or a woman has to complete them. But I will tell you this, if you're one flesh with the first covenant husband or wife that you walked down the aisle with, I don't care if it was 20, 50, 80 years ago, you're not going to be completed by the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th wife or husband, because you're still one flesh with the first and only wife, the first and only husband. So in that, you might as well focus on God, because some people that are so hard-headed, going out here and remarrying, they're going through hell and all types of stuff because of the things that they're with that they're not supposed to be with. Oh no. So all I can say is don't let yourself go. If you got to go running, if you just like, you know what, I gained so much weight because of the stress and the heartache and everything. If you got to like really push yourself, and it's not just so you can have a nice looking body, it's because of health. Let me tell you something. It's true. People can die from a broken heart. Sorrow can bring sickness to the bones. It is so true. But a happy heart, being happy is like medicine. Being at your best. You ain't smoking no cigarettes. You ain't chasing no bottle. You are literally being fit and focusing on God, and now you got more clarity like never before. I understand why Paul says, look, it's better to be single and just praising God all day long. Because you're literally focusing on God. And yes, you're still one flesh, so you're going to have throughout the days, you're going to think about your wife. You're going to think about your husband. That's natural. You're one flesh with them. That's natural. Don't ever let nobody say, why don't you stop thinking about them? Excuse me, you walked down the aisle and became one flesh. Of course you're going to think about them. Y'all in a shared body here. You're shared one flesh. Whoever tells you you're just holding on, they're trying to basically tell you to act like you being one flesh don't exist, to act like them vows that you took to death don't exist. The devil is a liar. No, you're gonna think about your husband and your wife throughout the day. Notice I ain't say once in a blue moon. No, you're gonna think about them. God is gonna remind you of them. Your flesh is gonna remind you of them. You're gonna realize that you're still, and especially staying away from sin, committing adultery, you got to be reminded of your husband and your wife, right? Don't act like they don't live. You're going to be reminded. This is natural. But don't let yourself go. Get it together. Get it right. Practice a healthy lifestyle. The things that we used to do when we was in our early teens and early 20s, now we in our 30s and 40s, or some of y'all in your 20s or whatever. It's time to get it together. And notice when you do things right, everything is just going so smoothly. You looking around the corner waiting for something bad to happen and don't nothing happen. What's going on? You walking right. You're walking right. And sometimes, this is the time to really just focus on God. Focusing on God. I know people be like, I understand what you saying, but what else you supposed to do? Hold on, y'all. Let me try to get into this thing. My hair gonna be getting all wet. Why you so behind me, lady? Like, what if I needed to back up? Your vehicle is all behind me. Hold on, y'all. Let me let her know I'm out here so I can get my baby. Yeah, so no, absolutely not. Don't let yourself go. And people, I'm trying to tell you, people start looking at you like, what you doing different? What's going on? You know, like, wait a minute. She's so happy. She's so, what's going on?